What does it take to walk away from everything society tells you to succeed? To leave the corporate world, the paycheck, the security, and build something that actually feels like you.
And the business is always going to be somewhat a reflection of my own passions.
Today, I sit down with Mikey Glenn, the owner of London Weightlifting, a man who left behind a respected career at a global tech firm and chose the barbell over the briefcase.
I actually moved company. I was still doing a very similar thing, like tech stuff in-house. I actually got made redundant from that, which made me realize I didn't want to do an office job again.
From the halls of Forrester to a cold gym floor in East London, Mikey didn't just pivot, he transformed. And in this episode, he reveals the exact moment he knew he couldn't go back, the one belief that carried him through the unknown, and how you, too, can build a life that feels as strong on the inside.
Where I was kind of tossing up between being a probation officer and being a weightlifting coach. Obviously chose weightlifting coach. I was actually always wanted to set up my own gym. That was always the end goal. You have to be on autopilot. You have to be firing all cylinders.
This is a reminder. You don't have to live a life you're not proud of. Tune in now to the Midweek Motivation podcast with me, your host, Cameron Neale, as we take you through the stories of legends. Well, Mikey, I feel like you're a big nerd, so I feel like we'll start off and just say Happy May the 4th. I think it's... I got that right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, big Star Wars fan. When I was younger, I think I just used to watch the videos on repeat the whole time. So it's a very important day to my people.
Yeah. I literally just saw the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith in cinemas.
Oh yeah. Was that good?
Oh man, I feel like I'm complete now.
Yeah,
I've watched it and it's made everything, and I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, I need to watch some Star Wars content. Lucy, my fiance, is not into Star Wars very much, so I'll have to be like on some downtime, sneak in some Star Wars. So yeah, we'll see.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, Mikey, thanks for being here today. We'll just kick us off. Like, who are you? I guess that's my first important question. Why are you here?
I don't know. I ask myself that question all the time. Yeah, Mikey Glenn, owner of London Weightlifting, where we've got you coaching now as well, which is awesome. Yeah, been doing that for a while. Coaching before that. Yeah, that's my main thing, I guess.
Yeah. What got you started in weightlifting?
So I came through CrossFit, which is like the classic. I think CrossFit was really booming when I was kind of late teens, early 20s. It was something I always wanted to do. So as soon as I got a job and I started earning money out of uni, joined CrossFit. And I was actually a massive cardio bunny back then, really. I was like running a lot. I ran a marathon, like kind of just when I started CrossFit. But I had a very good weightlifting coach who worked for that gym. He was always trying to get me to do weightlifting, basically. And especially as like a smaller gentleman, when you're not the optimal weight to be decent at CrossFit, like I'm just useless on the ergs or anything like that. I'm just too small. Once I discovered that weightlifting was a weight class sport, I was like, I like this. I think I just went to one weightlifting class at the CrossFit gym, and the coach said, tomorrow we're doing competition, do that. And I was like, all right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just like heinous power snatches and stuff. Annoyingly, back then, I wasn't videoing any of my lifts and stuff. I would love to see it now.
Yeah.
But after then, I was kind of more of a weightlifter than a CrossFitter. We kind of went in and out, to which I preferred. But after a while, I was just doing pure weightlifting, and eventually I left CrossFit, joined London Weightlifting. It was lower back then, just as a person, as a member, and then kind of snowballed from there, really.
That's pretty cool. So you had like an actual weightlifting coach at CrossFit?
Yeah, we were very lucky actually. It was like you paid a little bit extra for those sessions. It's different now. That's at Shapesmith's just down the road.
Okay.
We were just really lucky in that Leslie Brown was the coach. She was weightlifting for Scotland and stuff at the time. Like really high level weightlifting coach. She just happened to be a coach there and kind of started a little club.
Yeah.
It took off into like a really, really popular class. And then she just became part of something they did.
Yeah.
I got lucky there, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome, because from a lot of people who I've met who have started doing weightlifting, but from a CrossFit background, they always tell me that their technique is quite shit because...
Yeah.
I don't know. Why is that?
I think, having done CrossFit, done level 1 and 2 now, because you had to be an affiliate owner. The way that they teach you to do weightlifting, I would say is wrong. It's quite a unique style. I'd say there are quite stable principles, even if it's like Chinese weightlifting, Russian weightlifting. There are things that all of those different schools have in common. And then there are some things that CrossFit seems to value a lot, which you wouldn't get in the rest of the weightlifting world so much. So I think it's actually a top-down issue. So the coaches will think that they're giving you really good coaching advice, but it's actually just, and you go to a weightlifting gym and you blow people's minds. It's like, I'm sorry to tell you, you've just kind of been told the wrong thing. And it's like, it's no one's fault. Apart from, I guess, like CrossFit, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the posterior chain dominance, the way CrossFit teaches. So it's like be back in your heels, just back and hamstring, glutes, which works very well for barbell cycling, but for the lower rep stuff, you're trying to get people to do more of a squat movement pattern. So I think it's just the way they teach it creates worse weightlifters, basically.
Wow. Okay. And what are some of the common injuries that you see in weightlifting, whether CrossFit background or not?
Well, I mean, I've had them all personally. So classic, like bad ones, you get like disc bulge. That's something you see pop up quite often. Everyone gets like patellar tendonitis, I'd say, in their first year of weightlifting.
Not me.
That just becomes like a feature rather than the bug, I think.
Yep.
I would say tendonitis is the big things. Especially, I think it has quite a good, like a low injury rate, but things like tendonitis just happen all the time, where it's just overuse.
Yep.
That kind of thing. So yeah, I would like elbows, knees, wrists. Those are the classic ones. Yeah.
And you think it's mostly from maybe improper technique, or is it not recovering enough in between? What are some of the common?
I would say is that load management is the classic one. I think especially with tendons, where it's like you can just push yourself ever so slightly too much in one session.
Yep.
Not realize at the time. If it's just like doing a 5x5 at the time feels okay, your knee feels a little bit funny at the end, that could be a really annoying injury for ages and ages. It's just very difficult to know exactly where you're taking it too far. But I think there's certainly, I mean, I would like to say that I've learned from this, but I haven't. But you get that little niggle, a bit of pain in the knee or something, and it's not enough to stop you completely. It warms up quite well, so you're just like, oh, just train through that, and then all of a sudden you've got something that's, lasts a long time.
Yeah,
that's a classic one.
Yeah, the fear of when people have an injury, and this is a common with just general population, when they have an injury or some sort of pain, their instinct is to just take complete rest. Whereas the athlete star was like, got to find another way to, how can I keep training? In that case, what has been your experience in that of just trying to still train in a way? Obviously, fitness has been part of your lifestyle, versus like, okay, maybe I should just like chill out.
It's tough, especially knowing like a bit of discomfort. If you get a physio or something, and you've got, I've got an elbow injury right now. There's a level of discomfort that we're not trying to avoid because you're trying to stress that tissue enough that it does recover. It's very difficult just towing that line. I think with people, it's with weightlifters particularly, it's very difficult to stop doing weightlifting and just train almost on some general strength. I think a lot of weightlifters will get a lot out of that. Like if they're injured, taking a little bit of an off season where you're not doing this really ballistic, explosive training, because I think that's the stuff that can get you really hurt if you have a bit of a niggle already. But so there's always stuff you can train. Yeah, it's just I think sometimes we get so obsessed with like, if my snatch is going to drop from this to this, and you're so obsessed with being able to snatch a certain amount, it's very difficult to accept that I should just be doing a different type of training at the moment. But I think it just comes with experience. You just get beaten down by injuries. You're like, well, I've just got to do this.
Yeah. Well, when I tell people like, oh yeah, I do weightlifting, and they see the videos, I'm like, oh, there's no way I can do that. No way. But then I try to, say like, it's actually easier to get started than you think. It's just all about learning technique. You don't even need the bar to start with, just a dowel rod, right? And being an owner of a weightlifting gym, you've probably seen many different types of members come through the door. Maybe people who just want to, learn for fun, young people, old people, maybe someone with existing injuries. I guess what would you tell someone who is coming, who's like maybe thinking about weightlifting, but maybe fearing of getting injured or something else in the process?
I think the main thing I tell people is, your body's way more resilient than you think it is.
Yes.
That's certainly a feature I see with new people coming in where they're like, I'm going to lift a weight once, my spine is just going to snap. And it's like, definitely you're a lot stronger than you think. So I think it's, especially if you have that mindset as well, you're more likely to get injured. So like, try and give your body the respect it deserves. Like you're resilient enough to do some training. And I think it's a little bit like when people don't want to start bodybuilding because they don't want to get massive straight away. They see someone doing some like crazy bottom position snatch where there's like a windmill catch spinning around. They're like, I don't think I can do that. So that's fine because that's years and years away. It doesn't have to look like that when you first start. Yeah. Like, particularly when people aren't very mobile, they're like, oh, my knees would hurt so much if I got into that position. So you just wouldn't get there. So don't worry about it. So if you start with like a really high power snatch or whatever it is, like a reduced range of motion version of the lift, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think people get stressed when they start and they're like, my lift doesn't look like their lift. And it's like, that's okay, because their lift didn't look like their lift either.
Yeah.
It's years and years and years, and you just go a bit deeper, a bit deeper, a bit deeper, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But that's the main thing that people get stressed out about, is that it has to look a certain way from day one. So it just doesn't work like that. It doesn't need to.
Yeah. Have you ever coached many people or seen people come through the gym where maybe their ego is a bit big and they're strong from a powerlifting perspective, but then they, say, oh yeah, let me try and learn a snatch, and then they realize like, oh shit.
Yeah, definitely happens often. It's a weird one that where people come in, they've got a really big squat or something. It's, on the one hand, it's like you've got a really fantastic base to be good at this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also people obviously get really stressed out that they can't lift enough. I think it's just kind of, they'll progress quicker. So you just got to let them fly a little bit more. I think especially when someone's strong, they could do a lot more training because it's just a smaller percentage of their squat that they're lifting.
Yeah.
So I think you just let them get to it. And I feel like the more coaching I do, the less I kind of fight with people's mindset like that. Like I was definitely like that when I first started as well. Like if there was a weight that I really wanted to hit, you just miss and miss and miss and miss. And I think back on it now, I'm like, come on, man. Like now, if I miss one snatch now, I'm usually like, I'm not going to try that weight again. That's probably going to be the end of my session.
Yeah.
I think you just have to let people go through that learning experience, because I'm sure there were loads of people who told me, I know there was, like, it doesn't matter so much if you can't hit this weight right now. If you're just like consistent with your training, you're going to improve. And then in a few years' time, this will seem like a silly weight to you. And you're like, ah.
Yeah.
All right. It sounds good, but I really do want to snatch it today. So I will. So yeah, I think just let people go through that.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like one of the big things I love about weightlifting is that there's a huge mental component. Like perhaps you can snatch that weight, but maybe some other factors that day has affected, your mental health or just your ability to make the lift. So stress outside your life, maybe you haven't eaten enough that day, maybe you're worried about just your job, something like else that's along the lines. Like maybe if every other condition was perfect on the day, probably could have made it.
Yeah.
So it's not always about trying to have progressive overload. I guess you very quickly reach that wall in weightlifting when you're learning. Progressive overload, like you can't always go week by week adding an extra kilo.
100%. I do particularly for like the snatch, clean and jerk. You have to be in a really, really good, confident mental state that day. It's so, because you can't think your way through it.
Yeah.
You have to be on autopilot. You have to be firing all cylinders. If it's not that day, I feel like just don't force it. That's a big thing. So I feel like with squats and like, especially your accessory work, whatever it is, running probably to some extent, you can just grit your teeth and you get through it.
Yep.
If you're not lifting very well, especially if you're not feeling confident that day, you're not going to lift very well.
Yeah.
I think just accepting that that's a big part of it.
And lifting at sub-maximal loads rather than your max all the time.
Yeah,
that's going to be more beneficial in the pretty long term.
Yeah, for sure. It's just about trying to get really high quality work in. I think where people's training can derail a bit, I try and get across to people in weightlifting, you're looking for really, really high power output, really high quality work for less overall sets and reps. So even if you're having a bit of a bad day and you're grinding out like really heinous 95% lifts, it's not necessarily going to benefit you long term. You're looking for really, really high quality stuff.
Yeah.
So I think grinding anything out on the day is not usually a very good idea. There's obviously time and place for it and competition, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So with weightlifting, like for you now, how is that different from when, say, in your early years?
I mean, now I just want to get back to it. I've had nearly a year off because of injuries from weightlifting. But I think when I do get back to it, it's just trying to be, it's almost like a shame now. It'd be a bit of a negative mindset. Like I just want to put together long periods of time of training.
Yeah.
But it's just obviously fun being really aggressive with your training. That's always the typical thing. It's like, I wouldn't enjoy it if I was always staying at 80%. But I think it's just spending a bit less time in that danger zone. So if I could weightlift again tomorrow, I think I'd still let myself go reasonably heavy, but just not do many sets and reps above 90%, whatever it is. And just try and be a bit more sensible with the training.
Yeah. So when you started weightlifting in CrossFit in that area, were you at university at the time?
No, just out. So I was probably a year, maybe a bit less than a year out of uni when I first started CrossFit. Yeah. Yeah.
And then wait, what did you study again?
History.
History. So very different.
It comes in handy every single day.
Just we better spit out facts, random facts to people. Yeah. Start of each session. Like, oh, did you know this? Yeah.
I wish. I don't remember anything really.
Yeah. And so then out of uni, what happens then?
So I left uni, I think it was like 2016, something like that. Joined a company called Forrester Research, like a big American, like a tech consulting market research firm. I didn't really have any interest in technology, to be honest. Just wanted a job.
Yeah.
For like at that age, it was really good pay, good kind of hours, that kind of thing. So it was a good setup. I feel like now, if I was to be given that job, I'd really like take the bit between my teeth, and take the opportunity. But at the time, I was just wanted something to do. So I did that for probably about 4 or 5 years before I started coaching and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was basically just a break between training. I used to go to CrossFit before work, go to work and just like sit down, relax, go to CrossFit, after work again, go home, rinse and repeat. So it was good training lifestyle.
Yeah. And then when did coaching become full-time then?
After COVID. So just before COVID, I actually moved company. I was still doing a very similar thing, like tech stuff in-house. Actually got made redundant from that, which was like fantastic. And in hindsight, basically the company took on a big investment, hired a load of new people, and they decided they didn't want to take on the investment after all.
Yeah.
So everyone had been there for a short period of time, got made redundant, and then COVID hit. I kind of set up a social enterprise-y type thing with a friend of mine where he set up, and then I came in to help him, which made me realize I didn't want to do an office job again. So I actually applied to be a probation officer. Got offered a job as a probation officer. And I was going to start that at the end of COVID. And then I was just training at Lower back then. And Mike, the owner at the time, was like, well, if you want to coach, you can have that.
Yep.
So there was a brief period of time where I was kind of tossing up between being a probation officer and being a weightlifting coach. Obviously chose weightlifting coach. And then so went into that. I guess that'd be 2021, something like that. 2020,
okay.
2021.
Yep.
Yeah. So not actually that long ago, really, in terms of coaching time.
Yeah. And what were the kind of clients that were you having? With the complete beginners? Were they more on the athletic side?
Mostly beginners. I had quite a nice start to, especially the one-to-one side, where I had a friend of mine who was really into weightlifting and just got a few of his friends to start weightlifting and just gave them to me as PT clients, basically. So I was like, this PT thing's so fucking easy. Had this guy who was doing I had multiple people doing 3 sessions a week just to learn weightlifting. I was like, that's so easy, man.
Yeah.
I think they both of them moved to America or something after 6 months. So I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was mostly new people in terms of one-to-one, and then the classes were just a big mix, kind of similar to how they are now. So you get a real mix of people. I definitely found that hard at the start. Anyone who'd done any weightlifting, I was nervous to coach, even though they'd done much less than me. You just get scared to offer people advice if you feel like they know anything. But after a while, it was fine.
Yeah. And was it just a weightlifting gym back then as well?
Just weightlifting. There were some powerlifters. They just did open gym.
Yeah.
So there's no coach powerlifting. There was just a little corner of the gym where people did powerlifting. But it was just weightlifting classes. It was all just a club program. So that 60-minute style that we have now.
Yep.
Just that. And then people doing open gym as well.
Yep. And then what that period where you decided to, I guess, buy the business from there, what was that process like? How did something go from coach to...
Yeah, it was nuts. Basically, I was looking at setting up my own gym. I was actually always wanted to set up my own gym. That was always the end goal. So before I started coaching, that was also something I was exploring back then. So before I'd ever worked in fitness. And then decided to kind of get some experience in the game.
Yeah.
So put that on the back burner for a while. So I was looking at leaving and doing my own thing. And the previous owner, I think, it just didn't want to do it anymore, essentially. So the opportunity came up to buy the business rather than setting up my own. And I really enjoyed coaching and stuff there at the time. So it was a no-brainer really for me to take it on. So yeah.
Well, easier to have something that's already there, right, than go completely from scratch.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very, once you, I was very naive in the way that I bought the business, I would say. Once you get in there, you realize it's not as easy as you think it's
No.
But I think overall, probably, if I was to go back and if I was going to start a gym again now, I think I probably still would make the same decision to buy something that's already started. But there's trade-offs to everything, you know.
Of course, yeah. And did you like already have previous like business experience at all? It's just you just learned completely on the job.
A bit. So obviously I had the consulting experience I had before was very much like big corporates. Which obviously felt very strange at the time. I was like a young guy working on these big projects, but I'm sure that's all same for all consultants. So I had some like very high level experience from that. And then this brief stint I had during COVID. So this social enterprise business I was involved in was basically like a grocery delivery business. Started off just getting food to people who couldn't get out to the shops during COVID.
Yeah.
And then it did start to progress into something more like a commercial business. So we actually we're in an accelerator for kind of early stage companies, that kind of thing. At the time I decided to leave. It just wasn't super interesting as a business concept, basically just getting like apples to people.
Yeah.
So there was that as well. I think that taught me a lot of things that like I wouldn't do in terms of business, but most of the things I do now were very much learning on the job, or like reading books. But yeah, I didn't come in with a plan because it was all very fast, the kind of transition from coaching there to owning there. So I would say, yeah, definitely mostly learning by doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you bought the business, then was the vision that you had for it, is it still similar to what it is now, or you completely like change?
No, I would say this is getting close to what I wanted now. So I knew I wanted to move it. The arch that we're in now, I looked around when I was looking at starting my own thing completely. So I literally looked at that location. I was like, oh, like,
yeah.
I knew that I wanted to expand to doing like functional fitness as well, general strength stuff as well, especially just in terms of my kind of origin story with weightlifting. Like that's how I got into weightlifting. I think it's a really cool way for people to get into it, and kind of go from weightlifting into functional fitness, CrossFit, and the other way around. So that was always something I wanted to do. And the business is always going to be somewhat a reflection of like my own passions. So
yeah,
I still love training that way. I wanted that to be something we offered as well. And then just having like the kind of more premium weightlifting aspect to it as well. So having it all like decked out with the wood stuff and the Eleiko kit, that was a big goal as well. So it's getting close to what I would like. And showers, that was obviously as well.
Yeah, no, I think I fell in love with the gym when I came. So I literally like a year. It's May 2024. It's May now. So yeah, so that was pretty cool when I discovered the gym. It was like the first thing I came here before I even started looking for jobs. Like, all right, gotta find a way to the gym.
Yeah.
So I found that, and yeah, I mean, I took a bit of a break from the gym to I guess where I work now, but now coming back, it's good to be in that vibe and that community. It's just completely different from a commercial gym that I've never trained or worked at before. So it's great.
Yeah. So you were never that. You've always known London weightlifting while I've been owner.
Just a quick announcement before we return to the podcast. If you're enjoying this episode of Midweek Motivation, you may be interested in checking out the Midweek Motivation newsletter, where every week I'll share with you a useful lesson on resilience, mindset, or fitness, or health in general, straight to your inbox. You also receive a free workout of the week, useful resources, and the latest videos that I've got up there. And just if you want to keep updated on my life, you'll find everything there. If you're interested in that, go ahead and hit the link in the description below, or go to Substack and search up Midweek Motivation. All right, let's return to the podcast.
And so so you moved to the new place end last year. It's October, I think it was.
Yeah, September kind of when it started.
Yeah. And then was that, I'm sure it wasn't easy as it sounds when you moved. It was a lot of...
It was fucked, man.
Yeah.
I decided this is one of my like stupid traits. I like really overestimate what I can do as an individual.
Yeah.
So I had it in my head that I didn't want to close the gym. A lot of this is just cost based, right? So basically to make all that move happen, I just had a number in my head. I was like, I need to save up this exact amount to make the move possible. So it's not as simple as like, there's obviously lots of costs associated just with moving, even just things like contracts with the new premises, all this kind of stuff. But I wanted to get it as close as possible to us literally lifting up the gym, moving it. So I was like, I'm not closing the gym. We'll do this in one day. So I tried to do it over.
Yeah, I remember that.
I tried to do it overnight, which kind of like semi works. Obviously I got like moving people, but I acted as some of the labor with that as well. So that was hard. It was just very physically tiring, but in a way, that was a really nice period of time. So there was loads of stuff, just like the negotiations to get that was one of the most horrible experiences. So like dealing with the landlords to try and get us out of our current contract and into the new contract. You'd think that they would just let you do that, and they don't. So that was heinous, and that took me probably a year. I was trying to do it, and just going back and forth with the same guy, basically for a really, really long time. Eventually, we basically got out of our contract. So I argued that it was unsafe for us to be there because of the delivery drivers and all the issues they were creating. So they finally let us out. It was actually just being going from that kind of as like emotionally draining stuff where you're arguing with someone to a task that's just like, I got a load of shit here, I need to move it from here to here. It was almost like a really welcome break, and I was like, I can do that. It's going to really hurt my elbow, but I can do that. So that was it was tough for a few weeks, but physically tough, which was nice.
And then you open a second arch not so long after that.
So at that point, basically, was when we had the CrossFit and the weightlifting going on at the same time. It did work. So we had no open gym, and you could probably do 2 classes of 10 at the same time, which you'd think is good, but actually, like, if you drill down to the unit cost of the business, like, you actually can't sustain yourself on 10s. You'd have to make the price would have to be so expensive for people. So you get to capacity there before you get to profitability, which obviously is a negative. But I was ready to stay there for a while before addressing that, because we were still growing, especially on that CrossFit side. But then there was only one arch free on that kind of lot that we're in. So I'd obviously been looking at that. And I did put feelers out to the landlord, but I'm interested in this, probably not right now, but if we can start, because it had taken me a year to get this one. So I assumed it would be quite slow. But I was like, I don't want to deal with the guy who I dealt with before. I just want to deal with you. You seem nice. And then it was like horrendously smooth. So they were like, we want you to take it now. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. Well, I thought I was going to take it one. And I was like, well, I'm happy to like put the deposit down now, but let's push taking it until, I think I said January. So even that was still a little bit sooner than I'd like. But they were like, they called me. They obviously don't want to put this kind of thing in writing. They were like, if you don't take it now, we're going to give it to someone else, and it's a gym. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to take it now. So we did that. There's also like, I wasn't happy with what the weightlifting setup was in that new space. Like, it wasn't like my dream. Like, it worked, but it wasn't like awesome. So I was keen to. I was conscious that I was almost like letting the new thing, the CrossFit, slightly devalue the main thing, the weightlifting.
Sure.
And it's London weightlifting, at the end of the day. So I did want to make the perfect weightlifting space. So it was definitely a good opportunity to just do that. So I was like, I'll just do it. Let's go.
I'm sure it would have been a tough decision. Like, you brought on this CrossFit, and then it was like, oh, it's a new thing that we can offer, and then decide to, I guess. You still offer very similar things, but just obviously not called CrossFit now. But
I mean, technically, we are still an affiliate of CrossFit. We are going to stop that. So I think our affiliation runs out in August.
Okay.
It just didn't. The affiliation fee we paid didn't actually drive enough value, basically, because we'd still the actual training we deliver in those sessions. So our strength and conditioning sessions and what we call LWX, we're doing exactly the same things we were before. But we actually just did some split testing in terms of our marketing. Like one, we did an ad that shows exactly the same thing, but uses words like conditioning, functional fitness. Did another one that used the word CrossFit, and the results were so much worse on the one that used the word CrossFit.
That's interesting.
So it's like, okay, so the only thing we pay for is the ability to use this word CrossFit, and it's actually having a negative effect on bringing new people into the gym. And it doesn't affect the kind of training we do. Like, all we're trying to do is like get more people training using a barbell at the end of the day. I don't care if we call it CrossFit or not. So we decided not to keep paying that fee, basically. That was it.
Fair enough. Do you find that, like, it's more so in the last couple of years, more people being interested in learning weightlifting compared to was before, now that social media has really boomed with with reels, and you get to find all these incredible athletes, CrossFit, people more getting into weightlifting? Or has it kind of been consistent throughout?
I think, we've definitely grown. It's hard for me to say how hard for me to say why. I do think weightlifting Instagrams really, really well. Because of that kind of short, it's like how long does it take to do a lift? Maybe 5-10 seconds. And so it's really visually cool. And I think lots of the weightlifters are producing really cool content now. So I think just in terms of how visually appealing it is, that's definitely helping. Because I think often people get into weightlifting because they've seen like Mihaela Kambe or whoever it is, like some really cool weightlifter with like loads of personality doing something sick. And like, I want to give that a go. As CrossFit doesn't necessarily like Instagram as well, because it's like long workouts and that kind of thing. Obviously the weightlifting aspect does and the gymnastics aspect does, so people find that cool. But I know for a fact that weightlifting's grown a lot in terms of participation ever since CrossFit started booming. So hopefully that keeps going. So if CrossFit is on something of a slide, it'll be interesting to see what happens to weightlifting then. I think quite a lot of people who started a bit like me started off in CrossFit, they keep their weightlifting element. But it would be interesting to see if it keeps going that way. I know, for example, USA weightlifting have like really, really good concrete data on like the start of CrossFit and then their membership numbers. I know British weightlifting doesn't really like publish anything. They keep everything really hush hush. So don't know what the exact impact is in the UK, but it definitely seems like it's increased people doing weightlifting. So
that's cool, because like when I moved over here and I was trying to obviously find out what weightlifting is here, when I looked at British weightlifting, I was like, oh, this is really sick. It seems to be more people into it. There's more money involved, like compared to Australia. Like we got just volunteers kind of running the association. And then I only kind of I discovered it through podcasts and everything, but then it wasn't until the Tokyo Olympics were on and we're all home and I was watching it. I'm like, I really want to learn that. And then luckily there was a weightlifting coach that was actually like in the gym, 5-minute walk away.
But
it wasn't a weightlifting gym. It was a normal commercial gym, and there was space, but we weren't actually allowed to drop the weight. I was, I guess, a positive from that. I had to learn how to eccentrically control the weight when it was above. So that was quite a time. That was 3.5 years ago now to be where I am now. I guess like people's progression. How long do you expect someone to say go from bar to say snatching on clean jacking for their body weight, and then going beyond from there?
I don't want to say it depends, but
yeah.
I think the interesting thing with that, we think in terms of years, but then I try and get people to think in terms of sessions. Because if you come in and you do, it's similar to what I did at the start. Actually, was I do maybe 1 or 2 weightlifting sessions a week.
Yeah.
And I remember being frustrated because I got like a few years into weightlifting, and I'm like, I've been doing weightlifting for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm only here. But then I started doing weightlifting 5 days a week. So it's the amount of sessions I get.
Yeah.
So it's all about, because it's minutes, isn't it? Really, it's not years. So I think if someone's doing weightlifting full time, maybe like 4 sessions a week, say, then things like a bodyweight snatch, I'd say, is very achievable in a year.
Yeah.
A year of concentrated training. Because some people start and they're just like, oh, I'm a weightlifter now. I train 4 days a week plus.
Yeah.
Whereas some people, they're like, they get annoyed that they haven't made a load of progression. They do 1 or 2 weightlifting sessions a week, and the rest of the time they're like doing ultra marathons or something, and it's like, well, it doesn't help. So
yeah. Of course.
Me to like throw shade at you there for
no.
too much, man.
That's good. Well, luckily I started with weightlifting before I went into
Well, both of us have been cheating on weightlifting with running as first recently, so
yeah. Well, I mean, for you, I guess you don't have much of a choice.
yeah.
It's really cool that like London Weightlifting offers such a, I guess, a variety of classes for anyone from different experience. Like you got weightlifting foundations, which is like a new thing that you guys are offering for literally beginners, rather than them being thrown into just a weightlifting class and then just kind of like learn along other people with different experience.
I think that was an interesting one. It's really just like, I don't know, it's not like we pulled a trick, but all we've done, it just shows people's psychology, because actually foundations is an all levels class. They're both, everything we do is all levels.
Okay.
And then foundations, I've just changed the programming so there's no complexes. So the idea, because I didn't want it to just be like 2 or 3 new people in this really kind of quiet seminar environment. I wanted everyone in the gym to be able to go to the classes.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about ways that I could make it an all levels class, but newer people feel more comfortable with it. And it was just calling it foundations rather than beginners.
Yeah.
And then when I sent out the memo or whatever it was, it's like, this is all levels. Like, don't call it beginners. I know what you fuckers are going to do. You're going to be like, I didn't think I was welcome at the beginners class. Like, no, it's foundations. It's all levels. And the tweak is that I just don't put complexes in. So it could be the program for foundations could easily be in our all levels classes as well. You wouldn't look at it and be like, oh, that's too fucking easy. It just wouldn't do stuff like, it's just one thing at a time. That's what it is. So it's like, if we're doing snatch balance, there's just snatch balance. Because I think a big part of what puts people off when they first start doing classes, especially where it's high paced, is we're like, okay, guys, we're going to do snatch balance plus overhead squat with a 5-second pause in the catch. And you instantly like, fuck, I'm lost. Like, this is too much. And people are just thinking about almost the words we use rather than the exercise itself.
Yeah.
And coaches can get frustrated as well, because I mean, I've definitely been guilty of this, where you're like, it's low hang snatch, say, and you get someone who starts from the floor, they pause just below knee, then do a snatch, and you're like, no, you prick, that is a snatch with pause below knee, not a low hang snatch. Whereas to them, it's just they've done exactly the same thing. They've just been like, they've been more efficient. So it causes friction, whereas the exercise selection, really, especially at the start, is not important. It's just about getting you in the gym consistently, enjoying it. So I was just thinking about, how do I solve for those things a little bit. So it's literally just no complexes in the program. That's it. And it works really well. It's one of those, I mean, I try stupid stuff all the time. Like, I love throwing new classes out there, but this is one of the few where it just works straight away. People are like, oh, you have a class just for beginners. Yep, maybe that's how you want to think about it. And so now it's kicked off massively. So we've got loads of new people in weightlifting now. Whereas I think before, in those all levels classes, it probably was mostly people who already done a bit. I think they'd look at us from afar for a while and they'd be like, I'm ready to join that gym now. It's definitely how I used to think of London weightlifting when I was doing CrossFit. I knew what it was, and I was like, oh, one day I'll join that. And then obviously they come in and you're like, oh, I wish you hadn't done that, because we really like it when people are really, really new. So I think it's just giving people that little nudge.
Yeah, no, that's nice. You found that little trick. Like psychology, huge in that. But you also run competitions pretty much every month now. And I like the style that you guys bring. It's like it's obviously open to everyone, but the encouragement for people who haven't done weightlifting for so long, like, just give it a go. Essentially, I really love that.
It's cool. I think don't wait too long before you do your first competition. Is definitely like the motto we go by. Obviously, I did mine after my first day training weightlifting. I had no idea what was going on.
That must be a record for sure.
It was bizarre. I know I got a no lift for a press out, and I didn't know the press out rule was a thing. And I was like, this is the most disgusting injustice anyone's ever served to my life. Like, I really wanted that. I think it was like a 90 kilo clean and jerk or something. And I know I caught my chin on the way up, and I still, in my head, made the lift. And I was like, I've just taken a barbell to the chin. And you've taken it from me. But I think they're very supportive environments, those competitions. So I think it's good for people just to jump in. I think it's where it's an individual sport and you're on like a stage, people make it into this huge thing. It is scary. But if you think about, if you started playing football, you wouldn't be like, oh, it's really weird, they want me to play a football match. The sport is the thing. So I think we just try and get people in as soon as possible.
And if it's someone who, say, wants to go like beyond, say, like global competitions, what's it like in British weightlifting in terms of the progression?
So you've got really they do kind of regional competitions, but those are really open for everyone as well. So really, once you get to a decent level, you're looking at English championships and British championships. Typically England or Wales or Scotland are easier to qualify than the British. But there's just a minimum total you need to hit, and then it's done on ranking. So it can really depend on what weight class you're in, that kind of thing. But you're typically looking at the kind of the best 10, 15 in England or Britain going to those competitions. So it's there's definitely a downfall of the weightlifting setup, is that you go from like very provincial level to nationals. There's very little in between. And there's something, I know they've tried to solve that with team competitions, that kind of thing as well. But it hasn't quite worked. I mean, even with our competitions, we group people based on what they're going to lift, because otherwise the day's a nightmare. And then you're getting totals by Sinclair. So whether you're a winner or last place in your group is massively a function of just the organization of the day, because you could just be in the group before.
Sure.
So it's difficult to really get competitive in those competitions.
Yeah.
So you're not competing against people of the same body weight. And then, so massively just, organizationally driven. So that kind of sucks a little bit, because there's obviously a big step up from just like London weightlifting comps to British.
Yeah, that's definitely the same back home, and if not more of a gap in between. So like that's why I was excited to come here and see when I was trying to learn about it. I'm trying to go for English this year.
Yeah, you're at a nice level now. You're like
I think so. Yeah, I was just off last year, and especially that end of the year, that's when things got really stressful and I couldn't fully focus on weightlifting itself. But
I think ever since then I've had like these weird ongoing elbow injuries. So I don't know if
Nino's fault, is it?
Well, I think he gave me the first one. There's this injury, I can't pronounce the name. It's like de Quervain's sinusitis, something like that. It's basically an injury that a lot of new mums get from holding their kids like this.
Yeah, okay.
And when Nino hadn't had his vaccine, so I'd carry him to the gym like multiple times a day, because I used to work from home, and I would just go and coach, go home, come back in, and just carry Nino. And I got this injury that new mums get. And ever since then, my elbows have just been ruined.
Wow.
But there was Nino, and then there was moving the gym, which was very like grip intensive. And I remember at the time I had to get a steroid injection, but I was like, I know this is going to make my elbow so bad, but there's just not an alternative right now. I can't afford to just hire people to do this whole thing. I need to do it. So that definitely set the elbow back a little bit, and it's starting to get a bit better now. So I still would like to compete. I would still really like to go to that British and English champs. But I was super into competitive weightlifting when I did that back injury a few years ago. But then it just hasn't really worked for me since then. I think I've done one competition in the last 2-3 years, something like that. Which was just one at the gym. I made sure I was in the first group of the day, so I could just get my comp in and then relax, do some work.
Of course, changing gears a bit. You mentioned to be like 6 years sober.
Yeah.
Wow!
Year,
Congratulations. So tell me more about that.
So I was I've always had a very poor relationship with booze, I would say. I think as soon as I started drinking when I was quite a young teenager, I was like, it's going to have to stop at some point. This is wild. But at uni and when I first started working was when it got really bad. There was just alcohol and drugs.
Yep.
Absolutely spanking it. So I tried to get sober a couple of times, and then it really stuck. I guess, coming up to bang on 6 years ago, which has been good.
Yeah. Did you find it affect training much?
The boozing and stuff, I could not do very good training. It was when I first started CrossFit and I was running. I guess I was like, I'm going to enter a marathon, and that's just going to make me stop doing like drugs and drinking. It didn't work. It just made the marathon very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to get long runs in at the weekend, and your weekend starts on Thursday. It made it very difficult to stick to the training. So my typical pattern would be I'd be able to hold my shit together maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'd get some decent training in. I would see Monday. I was like, if I get to the gym Monday night, that's going to make me feel like a human again. So I feel absolutely rotten from the weekend. Gym Monday night. And then I feel like, all right, I'm an acceptable human again. I'm never going to drink again in my life. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, absolutely spank the gym, probably go in Thursday morning. And then you're like, maybe I will go to the pub tonight.
Yeah, okay.
And then you write off the rest of the training. I wasn't very good at anything back then, let alone training.
Yeah.
So it was definitely like an easy. When I stopped drinking and doing drugs, it's remarkable how much progress you can make.
Yeah. So what was the final thing in the end that made you stop?
Oh, my life was completely unmanageable. There was no really horrible low point. I was just completely unreliable person.
Yeah.
I was very lucky that I wasn't fired from my job, that kind of thing. I would just not show up all the time, that kind of stuff. This was just very disappointing in terms of who I was, I would say. But there was no terrible rock bottom moment. That was just a long period of time. I think especially for me, sports was such a big thing when I was a teenager, that kind of thing. And then you're just the person who you are as a 23, 24-year-old. It's this is so different from who I hoped I would be when I was, a child. I think that just wears on you a little bit. So it was,
Yeah.
it was. I knew for a long time I was going to have to get sober.
Yeah.
I thought at some point I'd just be able to be like, okay, I'm done now. And the fact that it took a lot of time, to really nail it, well, that was the hard thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 6 years later, you've done a pretty damn good job on that. I love that.
It's easy now. Yeah, it's pretty chilled.
Yeah, yeah. So what's like coming up now for Mikey and for London weightlifting? What can you disclose?
What can I disclose? Just trying to grow where we are now. So we now have such a huge gym. I don't want to take on any more space. I don't want to open a second location right now.
Yeah.
So it's just building out what we've got. I want to just keep improving, like what we can give people there, and that kind of thing. So at the moment, we're really focused on where we are, which is nice. I think before there was just trying to move the gym and get new stuff. Obviously, I want loads of new kits still, but it's just trying to improve what we do currently. For me, that's increasing headcount now. So I don't know if Laura's going to start helping me on a much more formal basis now. Our community manager, also one of our coaches, trying to get her full time for me. Basically, that's like the next really big achievement. But I think everything now will be measured more in terms of headcount, because you're just strapped like what you can do by yourself. I think we can start to offer really cool stuff to people if there's more people on a full time basis, basically. So that's the project now for me, is grow the team.
Yep. That's awesome. Well, we'll wrap up the podcast now. But a quick sort of sales pitch, why should people join London Weightlifting?
I think if you like somewhere that doesn't take itself too seriously, that is certainly like the brand I try and push. So we're like really high quality coaching standards, equipment standards, all that stuff. But we don't take ourselves too seriously. We're not going to tell you that you're going to get a 6-pack in 2 weeks. We're going to have a laugh.
Lots of laughs.
Yeah. So that's why. If you want like serious training, but not people who take themselves too seriously, that's the place.
Yeah. So we got open gym, classes, small group PT.
Those something we've tried recently. Obviously 1-to-1s, coached open gym. There's basically weightlifting, strength. You call it powerlifting if you want, and then we've got S&C, which is like starts with some strength stuff, moves into some conditioning, like as it sounds, and then we've got LWX, which for now we can call CrossFit. Which for us takes like a big barbell focus. Like there's a lot of Olympic weightlifting in those classes, and then you do some higher skill stuff at the end. Those are our main things, basically.
Fantastic. And when can people find you?
Where? We're in Vauxhall. Yeah, we're like 5 minutes walk from Vauxhall Station.
Yeah,
I can do it in 4.
Yeah. And then Instagram
at London_weightlifting.
Yeah. And we should put a shout for Nino as well.
Yeah, if you want to follow a very good miniature golden doodle, that's at Nino.doodle, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't actually run that account.
Oh, really?
My fiance does. Yeah. Because I've got my personal and the weightlifting one. It's like I don't want a third. Because you end up following the same people. It's like I can't see that person.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, Mikey, this has been an absolute pleasure to be on the podcast.
Nice one, too. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Thank you so much for listening to the Midweek Motivation podcast. If you enjoyed this episode with Mikey, go ahead and leave the show a rating on whatever platform that you're using. And if you really want to support this channel, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's going to mean a lot to help grow this podcast even more, so we can deliver some powerful guests to you guys and making sure this is a really good platform to help you guys stay motivated on whatever journey that you're on. Thank you again so much for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.